Hi student, in this video I will show you how to sew. So take out your paper, which is you can read it on your computer or you can download it. So I'm going to start from number 11, okay? Anytime when we deal with compound interest, I strongly suggest you that you have to write the formula each time you solve the problem, or write a big formula in front of you on your test. But first question, you should write down. In the second question, if it still appears in front of your eyes, then you don't have to write down, but keep looking at it, right? So the first question, when you solve any word problem in simple interest or in the compound interest, you got to write the formula down and leave it in front of you so that you can see it, because that's the way we do. We have to substitute the number into each term in the formula to solve for it. So if you don't have a formula and you don't write it down, how can you substitute the number? So there's no other ways around. So please copy down the formula, and I'm going to write down as well on the board here for you to see. So the formula is future value FV equal present value PV present value times with 1, adding with the rate of R, and sometimes they can't see I is interest rate, you know, so sometimes they change the letter, but I like to use it R divided by N if you have a compounded semi-annually or quarterly, right? You have to divide the term, the annual term to the end period. On the top, power T times with N. Okay, so now make sure you write this formula before you do the compound interest. If you do with compound interest, you use compound interest formula. If you deal with simple interest, you have to use a simple interest formula, okay? Now, number 11, I'm going to read the question through to you. Joe owes $3,000, 175 in 4 years. So he owes $3,100.75 in 4 years. This is number 11 on your paper, okay? If the interest is 4.3% per year, compounded semi-annually, how much would her creditor accept today to pay off the loan? Usually when I read the question, even though I am familiar with the formula and everything in my mind, I still always read it the second times, you know. I don't just read the first time and then do it. So let me read the second time again. Joe owes $3,175 in 4 years. At this time, I will write down whatever information give me, right? So I'm going to say given, and I'm going to put in the side words. So this is given. Given what? When I read it, I have to realize that when they say Joe owes $3,175 in 4 years, I question myself, is that the present value or future value? So to my understanding, 3,175, Joe owes it in 4 years. They say in 4 years, it means after 4 years, he will owe this amount. So to me, that's the future value, right? So I'm gonna say, oh, okay, future value given is $3,175 Okay, so that's the amount is future value. It's not the principal, it's not the present value. So when you read, that's why you got to read 3 times, right? Okay, so Joe owes this amount in 4 years, so that's the future value. If the interest rate is 4.3%, so rate R equal 4.3%. Now, when you write down like this, it helps you to remind you that each question have a different data given. They're not the same, right? Okay, so that's why I ask you all the time, million of times, always write down what the data given, and especially in this kind of financial solving problem, this data is so important. Okay, you got to write down. You don't just cut short and do in your mind. Nobody can do math in your minds unless some very few simple number. Usually when a higher level, they use formula, they use short form notes, they use thinking, they use a lot of strategy to solve the problem. You don't just like do everything in your mind. Because even though you do in your mind, the calculator tell you you make mistakes, right? So, okay. So write down R equal 4.3%. And because they always give it in yearly, so you don't have to write out yearly, you know that's the annual rate. But the question said compounded semi-annually. So maybe you should write it as well. Compound. And you don't have to write compound because actually this is already in compound. We know the formula is in compound. So just say semi-annually. Semi-annually. Okay. How much would her creditor accept today to pay off the loan? So they said how much the creditor accept today to pay off the loan. So you see in this formula, you are given future value, you are given rate, right? And the N here, the T here, actually, the T is in 4 years. In 4 years. So the time is in 4 years. So all of this information you know time is 4 years, you know rate, it's 4.3, you know future value. Of course, the question asks for one unknown, which is present value. So when they say how much would her creditor accept today, the word today tell you a present value. So how much she have to put it in today in the bank to pay off her debt in the future, or to give the creditor the amount like this in the future, 3,175 in 4 years. So what do they expect her to put down the down payment? It's the same like present value, like a down payment. How much you going to give me today? And if this rate like that in 4 years, I expect that I will earn from you, I will get collected from you $3,175. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute any number I know from given data. And one more time, I'm going to say ask. I forget about this. The question asks you what? Present value. Put it down. PV. Question. Okay, so now we know that we have to solve for present value. So I'm going to substitute any number I know in this formula. So future value is 3,175. I'm going to substitute in here. And during the time I sold, I don't need you to put in the dollar unit. But at the end, your final answer, you have to state the unit clearly. Because math makes no sense if you don't state the unit. If you just state the number, nobody know what you're talking about. How do you solve the problem? Do you answer about the rate, or do you answer about money, or do you answer about the time? It's always have to have unit. And if you're talking about the times and you don't state it monthly or annually or like quarterly, you answer wrong because you're not given the specific time according to the question asked you. So the unit is a component, is so important in math. It shows you how do you remember and how do you understand your solution. Okay, so 3,175 equal, because this is unknown, right? PV is just one unknown number. You can change the PV by an X letter as well. But I would like you to keep at PV so that it in your mind remind you that this is a present value. So PV, put it down, nothing change. This is the one you want to know. This is the question mark, right? Now follow the formula 1 is just 1, adding rate. You can substitute the rate now. Now I want to change the rate. 4.3%, you have to divide by 100. Which is equal to 0.043. So now I'm going to put 0.043 divided. Semi-annually, we divide it by 2. So the end here, we substitute by 2. 2 periods a year. Time here is 4 years, so 4. But you have to time back with the end here, which is the same, like in this case, is 2. So now let's simplify one more. 1,775 equal present value time with, I'm going to simplify this, right? So to simplify this, you will hit the calculator. You will say 0.043 divided by 2. You do this first. Enter. You get the rate of 0.0215. Now you adding with 1. So actually, I'm sorry. Let's do it again. 0.043 divided by 2. That's right. Adding with 1. So this whole thing, after you simplify, it gives you 1.0215. And 4 times 8 on the top, power 8. Okay. Now, you know that you have to solve for the unknown PV. So, I am going to simplify one more time. 13175 equal PV time with. Now, I'm going to do this one. 1.0215 to power 8. So on my calculator, I leave it there. I'm not going to erase it, right? So everything you key in, you should leave it. You don't have to erase and then key in again. So now I put power, right? And the power 8, and I enter. I will get this number become 1.185. I'm going to write out everything so that it's accurate, okay? So I'm not going to write it off until the last minute. Now I know this PV multiplied with this number on the right-hand side, and this is the left side. To solve for PV, right? PV, I bring it down to solve for it. Remember, this is the two sides of equation. The balance side show you left side and right side, right? Anytime you want to solve for PV, you have to kick this number to the other side, right? To solve for PV only. You don't want PV multiplied with this number. You want just PV because that's the answer you want to get. So therefore, this number here got to be separate from PV by kicking it to the other side, right? It's on the right, now you kick it to the left, right? So this number have to move to the left. So you will do number with number together. And you keep the PV as the way it is, so your answer will be just right here, right? This equal PV. But there is a room when you solve an equation. When you multiply PV with this number, when you kick this number to the other side, you have to undo it like we call a backward, because instead of going forward, you go backward, right? So when you go backward like this, the arrow go backward like this, you have to compensate for your backward movement, which is multiply will become divide. So therefore, 3175 still on the top, right, will be divided by this number down here, 1.185514,766. So this is the way you solve an equation. Multiply, kick up to the other side, become divide. Opposite operation. Adding, if you kick it to the left, it becomes subtract. Divide, if this is the division, when you kick it over, it becomes multiplication. Whatever opposite, right? Because you move the arrow forward. Now you move the arrow backward, which is opposite direction. Same like opposite operation. They go together as a logic, okay? So if you multiply, you kick to this, you go your arrow move backward like this, you have to do backward operation, which is opposite operation, which is multiply, kick to this, become divide. So now I'm gonna hit 3175 divided, and I tell you the trick, okay? I tell you the trick. If you're lazy, on your calculator, this is the number. Then keep that number, okay? Just hit divide. So you rule reverse. You hit this number and you divide by 3175. And it gives you a very terrible decimal, right? Whatever. You know that this is not true because you use this 1.18 divided by 3175 on your calculator for convenience, right? If you don't want to rekey in everything again. So therefore, to undo your mistake, you have to hit the revert button on your calculator, which is the X with the -1 on top. That tell you reverse your operation. Instead of 1.1855 divided by 3175, you do 31.75 divided by this. You hit this X number on the top on the calculator, say answer reverse, you enter, you get the answer is, so this answer is, now you have to put in the dollar unit because that's your final step, 2,678.16. So now you know that in order to earn 3,175 or to return your money, right? After 4 years, actually here is you own people money. They lend it to you and you own them. So in order to be able to pay off 3,175 in 4 years, you have to put your down payment or present value or the principal of $2,678. So you see, if the bank charge you the interest rate of 4.3% semi-annually, then the bank will earn some amount of interest, which is to find the interest, you will use 3,175 minus this amount, right? Then you know how much the bank charge you the total amount of interest. But you don't have to do that because you answer the question. The question just asks you for PV, then you answer the PV. You don't answer the interest, right? So that's why reading the question is so important as well. So this is the solution for the first question. Now, because this is the first question, I go through very slow for you and allow you to copy it down. So I'm going to leave it because these questions are the typical question I select from the paper. The one is complicated and you'll not be able to do it on your own. So I show you and the typical question. And these questions are more challenging. So I show you the challenging question. So when you do the symbol, it's easier for you. So I just show you this, and I leave time for you to write down in your notebook. Now I will end this video, and in the next video, I will have to show you two solutions, question 12 and 40. And in the next video, I will work faster. This is the first video. I take my time. I show you slowly. I write out slowly any information, and I show you, I explain very deeply in terms of solving the unknown number for the equation. In the next video, I have to move fast so I can show you how to solve two other problems. Okay, so good luck, and I give you the tools. You are the one who use it. You read the information, you try to do it on your own. That's how you learn. Nobody can learn for anyone. You are the one who learn for yourself. And you have to make effort. For sure, learning requires efforts. We try to make math fun. Now it's the right subject. It's still a right subject as a nature. So it doesn't matter how much fun you want to add into it. You still have to make effort to learn.